friends, I'm here once again to speak to you and at the same time to rejoice at certain things that are happening in our Archdiocese. Let me begin first of all with the message of the week, the message of the Sunday. It's very simple but very profound, very challenging. To be a Christian, Jesus tells us we need two things. One is the faith, and the second is the works or perhaps the living of the faith. Jesus tells the disciples, if your faith were as small or tiny as a mustard seed, you could tell this tree to transplant itself into the sea and that would happen. Faith is needed. Faith is not measured by our expressions, our greatness of our sharings. No, it's enough that we trust in God, that we believe in God, and God will do many things in our life. So the hallmark of a good Christian is first of all his belief or his faith in God. But that alone is not enough, because the Gospel of Luke chapter 17 that speaks about the faith and the works says that our works are also important, in the sense you may not be active or perhaps dynamic in everything that you do, but each one of us has to do our work. When we ask God for our daily bread, we have to work for our daily bread also. And as I said, it's not important that how big is your work, that how many people you serve, or what is the impact or the impression that you make. Jesus gives that small parable and says, if a servant comes after work, would you tell him that come and sit down on my table and take this, take that? Would you fuss over him? No, he says, not necessary, because a servant has to do his service, his duty, and that is his satisfaction. And so also Jesus says we are all unworthy servants. We are servants perhaps who are given small jobs but not titles, not necessary. Not necessary that we be exalted and praised for everything. We do our duty. But doing our duty, doing the works is also important. St. James tells us in his letters, show me your faith, I will show my works. And both of these are the two sides of the same coin. You can't say that I have a faith and just sit quietly. On the other hand, there are some who may even say that work is worship, that the more work I do is as good as worship. Not necessarily also. Both are required, both are important, that we have faith and we put our faith into action by our works, by our service. So my dear friends, perhaps a good message for us. Am I a good Christian? Am I a Christian only in the church or perhaps in my faith expressions of public piety? Or do I do my due? As an husband, am I working hard for my family? As a mother in the family, am I sort of seeing to it that everyone is his one? Perhaps the children also have to see how God is blessing us. At the same time, our duty, our responsibility, and that doesn't remain only for our family. As much as we go out to the others, will also be done to us. Whatsoever you do to others, to the little ones, will also be done to us. I wish you a good weekend with this message. As you know that last week we had a beautiful celebration, the inauguration of St. Joseph's University in St. Joseph's College campus. It was a beautiful experience for me also, as the Jesuits invited me, and I was also on the dais there along with the President of India, Madam Draupadi Murmu, a very gracious lady, the Governor of Karnataka, Dr. Tarachand Gehlot, a nice man who spoke in Hindi, our own Chief Minister, Mr. Baswaraj Bommai. I was sitting close to him and he gave a beautiful speech, especially to say that the Christian institutions are doing their well, doing their best, and surely they should be encouraged and the people should profit from these institutions. There was also Mr. Ashwath Narayan, Dr. Ashwath Narayan, who is the minister, who was the Minister of Higher Education and was very helpful for our institutions. And of course, on the dais were also the other dignitaries and especially the provincial of the Jesuits, Father Dionysius Vaz, who is also the Chancellor of the university. I must say that we are all proud of St. Joseph. We are all proud of our Jesuit institutions, and this university, which I am told is under the RUSA scheme, it's a unique one, perhaps the only one in the whole of India, which is a partnership between Government of India, Government of Karnataka, and the private, that's the Jesuit congregation. It's sure that this will bring them not only a lot of name and fame, but also a good education to our students, thousands of them who are passing out from our institutions. And therefore I join all of you to congratulate our Jesuit fathers for their service, for their excellence, and for their dedication, especially for the weaker sections of the people, the Dalits, the marginalized, whom they do not neglect but give great concern to them. 1st of October, of course, the beginning of a new month, and we have a beautiful feast that day, the feast of Saint Teresa of the Child Jesus. Fortunately, there's a great devotion in our Archdiocese for Saint Teresa. As you know, there are so many churches that are named after Saint Teresa. Saint Teresa's Church here in our own JC Road, Saint Teresa's Church in Kanakapura, Saint Teresa's Church in Kaglialli, and so many other places. And today, also in the feast of our Thérèse, it's named as Thérèse after the saint. So, Saint Teresa of the Child Jesus is a beautiful example of how little things matter in our life. The small is beautiful, we say. Little things give a lot of meaning. You know, when you have a full room with so many things, TV, perhaps AC, and the tables and the chairs and the cupboards there, sometimes the small flowers on the table, they give the beauty. Saint Teresa of Child is something like that. She was a sickly child. From her young age, she was having sort of asthmatic trouble, and she died at the age of 24. And do you know that from her bedside, from her bedridden state, she has been declared as co-patroness of the missions. She has not got out of her room, perhaps, but she prayed for missions and missionaries. She offered her all her sickness for them. And therefore, I am very fond of this saint. And surely our diocese, having this, what we call the intention to develop our missions, this saint will always be an inspiration for us. I also make a mention that 1st of October, one of our priests, Father A. Thomas of Mariapura, celebrates his 75th year. It's a milestone in his life. I have said in certain occasions that he is a priest who has done much for the diocese, Archdiocese, especially in Mariapura. He conducts that annual biblical drama called Mahime, and so many other places also he has worked. As he entering his 75th year, as he is celebrating his 75th year of his birthday on the feast of Saint Teresa, of course, I'm sure he's also very fond of Saint Teresa. I wish him a very happy birthday And it's a milestone, 75 years in his life, and I wish him on behalf of the Archdiocese. 2nd of October, I don't have to say anything to you. Mahatma Gandhi. That one word, the whole world bows, as it were, in homage, in honor, and we are very fortunate to have had a person like him in India to guide our freedom movement and also the principles that went along in his life. In my circular for the next month, I have quoted that quotation of Albert Einstein, the greatest scientist, who at the death of Mahatma Gandhi said that perhaps we will not have seen another person walking on the earth like Mahatma Gandhi. I think these are words from a great scientist, but an expression on our behalf. And Mahatma Gandhi, as we know, he was, of course, a votary of all the religions. He appreciated all that was best in all the religions, and especially for the Christian religion, he had a great heart. The Gospels, the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 5 of Matthew, was something that he had learned by heart and he lived by it. Many people have said that his ahimsa, a non-violent movement, was inspired by Jesus' own non-violent or perhaps silently bearing up the satyagraha that he did, and so many other good thoughts and principles that he leaves behind. I have written in my circular that we Christians also perhaps have many things to learn from Mahatma Gandhi. We preach what he practiced, and therefore I also recommend that we all take in our heart the message of Mahatma Gandhi, especially as we celebrate in our schools, in our offices. It shouldn't be just a holiday for us to enjoy, but a day to meditate, a day to dedicate ourselves to the country. Let me now go to an important topic for this month, what's called the Mission Month, the month of missions. The month of October is the month of missions. As I said, it begins on the very first day with the feast of Saint Thérèse of the Child Jesus, who is the co-patroness of the missions. And we have the Mission Sunday also coming in the month. Earlier, we used to celebrate the Mission Sunday with much joy, with much celebration, with much programs, and also collection of funds. And we said that this is very good, but then let us extend it a little more, for not just for one day, but we can pray for the missions the whole month. We can remember the missionaries for the whole month. We can perhaps visit visually or digitally some of the missions in the world, in our country, and also in our Archdiocese. So, my dear friends, I would request you to watch out our media, our YouTube, for the programs that we have planned for this month, in the month of October. Basically, it will be two types of, I would say, animation. The one is the physical or perhaps the offline animation in our churches of our Archdiocese. On the 31 days, we will be selecting each day one church where we will have a prayer for the missions, we will have a reading of the Bible, we will have a preaching of the missions, and surely adoration and benediction. We have planned this in the 31 churches, and some of the names of the churches are still coming. Father Anthony Prasad, who is the secretary of the Evangelization Commission, is coordinating the places and the timing. The timing will be from evening 7 to 8, just 60 minutes. And this is physical. It's physical in the sense it will be in some of our churches, perhaps not in all the churches. I would be happy if every church did something to pray for the missions, but at least we will let you know which are the churches that will be praying very specially for the missions in those months. The second thing that we have planned is online. We have got into online mode from the last 2-3 years. And as you know, people were following masses online. And last year and year before last, since we could not celebrate the mission month openly, we did it on the digitally with online programs. So this year we are also recommended to the different congregations. There are many missionary congregations in our Archdiocese. We have 150 sister congregations, almost another 55 men congregations, and the brothers congregations, the lay apostolates, etc. There are so many of them. And so we have asked them to choose among themselves about 30 congregations who are working for the missions, who are missionaries working outside, so that they could make a small clip of 15 minutes only to explain about their congregation, their missions and missionaries, and so that the whole our Archdiocese can have it. And I have realized that it's going beyond the Archdiocese. People outside in India and abroad also are watching these clips, and surely they will be happy to hear. And we would like to give also a little encouragement to our missionary congregations in order to surely recruit more vocations and explain their missionary activities, seek the help and support of the Archdiocese and the people that are around. So this is going to be our mission month. As I said, firstly, perhaps 1 hour, what we call the mission hour in our 31 churches every day from 7 to 8 o'clock, with the reading of the Bible, with the prayers for the missions, with the benediction, with preaching on the missions. We will be doing it. And secondly, as I said, this is a small clip, digital clip of 15 minutes of the missionary activities, the missionary congregations, and some of our priests also have been into the missions. As you know, some of our young priests went to the missions. 1 year they have spent in remote places in North India, North Karnataka. They also will share their experiences. 4th of October is another great day. It's a day of St. Francis of Assisi. And St. Francis of Assisi is very much connected with ecology, with environment, with the birds, with the animals, with the plants, with the greenery. And so we celebrate as a day of creation, a feast of creation. You know, the best way, the best decorations are when nature itself decorates. When you see the colors of the rainbow, when you see the plants, the greenery, the flowers, the birds chirping, you feel so happy. You feel happy. No amount of these artificial noises and voices and mics and music, perhaps I don't think they can create as much as nature. So we have to celebrate creation. And therefore, it's our duty in the name of Francis of Assisi, who was a votary of, he's called the patron saint of environment, and the world all over have accepted him because his sayings, his ideals, his principles are even now very much relevant. In this age when we are destroying nature, when we are cutting down the trees, when we have seen that there is an impact on the climate and the climatic changes that have taken place, and suddenly there are rains, drought, etc. These things we cannot explain because the balance, the equilibrium of the nature has been disturbed. It has to be restored. Our Holy Father Pope Francis gives a beautiful sort of guidance for us in the Laudato Si document, which I am sure you're not only aware, but try to read it because it supersedes all the efforts of all the leaders of the world in order to protect environment. The Holy Father has given a comprehensive, a spiritual, emotional, a scientific, a creative, environmental way of solving our climate problems. Month of October is the month of the rosary. 7th of October, as you know, is a feast of Our Lady of the Holy Rosary. It's a very popular feast also in our diocese. We have in many places churches named after Holy Rosary, the church of at Harubale, and I think in many other places also. And basically, the month of October is the month of Mother Mary. On 13th of October, we celebrate also one of the apparitions of Mother Mary at Fatima. And so we say that this month is the month of rosary. We have to remind our people, rosary was a solution for many of our problems. As the Holy Father Pope Pius had said, the family that prays together stays together, and the rosary normally united us. In the traditional families, wherever the husband or the children were there, the mummy had a strict order that everyone should be in the house for the rosary. And in this counting of the beads or the prayers that we said, we could find out, we could almost feel a sense of unity in the family. And perhaps this thing is missing now. There are many other things that have taken the place of the rosary. Perhaps our work. We don't have a time now when we come back. Our studies, our tuitions, our homework, and more than anything else, our TV. Our TV. Our TV has also become so important, but because if it is at that time of the rosary, perhaps people would prefer to see the serial, the match, etc. on the TV rather than say the rosary. And therefore, I think I have to repeat it. My dear friends, I would say families make a special effort in this month, the 31 days of the month, not to miss the rosary. It's a very simple thing, but then it will bring us a lot of happiness, a lot of joy, a lot of unity, a lot of lost contacts in the family. And perhaps you can even connect with each other. I have heard one mother told me, Bishop, what you are saying is true. We are losing the rosary. So I have made it compulsory to my 2 sons and my daughter-in-law, they are staying far away, that we will say the rosary together digitally. This is another new thing that has come, but I smiled and said, when it's not physically possible, surely God will understand. So it seems that at that particular time, they all put on their mobiles, they connect to each other, and then they say the rosary. Someone says the first decade, someone says the second decade, and the small ones also join in here and there, and the family is happy about 20, half an hour together. Perhaps that's another way. I don't recommend it fully if the physically meeting together is possible, because you can't substitute physical presence for anything else. But in exceptional circumstances and in families who are far away, surely the digital also will help and keep you together. I come to the question of the day. It's a nice question. What is the role of the ushers in the church? Do they have to be present during the service? Many of the ushers are present only when there are major events in the church. They should have an ID so that people follow their rules. A beautiful question. Someone who has noticed our churches, our services. First of all, who are the ushers and what is their need? Ushers is someone who helps keep order, discipline, perhaps a little of what we call volunteers who are around to help us. There's no such thing as a canonical law or liturgical law that we should have ushers. Ushers are at the service of the community in order to make us celebrate better, have less distractions, be ourselves, be focused. At the same time, decorum, silence, order, discipline is maintained. I am happy. I have seen in some churches how these ushers are helping out, and surely they are doing a service. So I would recommend that every church has got this ushering system, a volunteer system. Sometimes the parish council members divide among us themselves. 3 or 5 of you come in the first, we will come for the second mass, the third one will the third mass, etc. Or perhaps the youth in the parish, they can also divide and so. Strictly speaking, it's not a policeman's job to keep and not necessary. It's someone who does a service in a loving way. When the people, they enter the church, perhaps I've seen that sometimes the pews, the people sit at the edges and there's a lot of space in between. And the people cannot, perhaps they find it difficult to disturb the congregation to come and ask them to move in, move out. Some perhaps prefer the edge seats. I do not know whether they would like to go away fast or something. I do not know. But when you see the people standing behind, there's a big crowd standing behind when there was place inside the pews, inside the church, it looks bad. And so the work of the ushers would be, first of all, to make the people sit together properly, fill up the vacant spaces. Perhaps if there is a mother with a child, with a baby, direct them to a certain place that the child can move about or perhaps will not disturb much. There are some churches, as you know, we have already started what we call the baby room or the specially abled room where these people can be resting also. And same also, the ushers can also help during the time of the communion, the offertory processions, etc. And this, as I said, this is not done in order that everyone sees them, everyone sort of listens to them. Not necessarily. The ushers also have to be humble people. The humble people. We are doing a service. Like in today's gospel, we have said we are unworthy servants. We do our job and just disappear. We don't want people to keep on repeating and honoring us. That's not the mood. That's not what we want. And therefore, the ushers, should they have a uniform? Should they have a badge? Should they have an ID? I'm not very sure. But in some way that the people can identify you. In some churches, I've seen that they have a cross, perhaps a sort of a ribbon type. In others, when they put certain type of dress, perhaps white and black, I do not know. But the dressing should be very modest. The dressing should be very much sort of in tune with the community, with our modesty, so that people are also not distracted because of the dresses of the ushers. More than anything else, it's their service that matters. They divide themselves in the church. All don't stand in one place, different corners perhaps, and make the people, perhaps they have to stand or they have to stay. That's a sacrifice that they are doing in order to help the others. I am very happy with this system, but then don't go to the other extreme to have like policemen in the church, everyone marching and everyone having a baton, and this that doesn't. Also, it's going to the other extreme. The ushers are the people who help us to run the liturgical service well. Like as I have said earlier, the choir also. The choir is the service of the congregation. They are not the orchestra that comes from abroad in order to sing and shout and bang the drums and see that everyone listens to them. Not necessarily. They are a soft voice that help the congregation to sing. They are not the only singers. They are helping others to sing. So in the same way, the ushers also are at the service of the community. My dear friends, I wish you a very, very happy weekend. As I said, there are a lot of feasts, beautiful feasts. The first, St. Thérèse, Mahatma Gandhi. And the fourth is the St. Francis Xavier. And soon comes Our Lady of the Rosary on the 7th. These are all the things. And surely don't forget our activities of the Mission Month. I wish you well.
My dear friends, please do share your feedback, your impressions, and your experience, or send a message to the email address as you find on the screen, archdblr@gmail.com. And you also have the phone number, the mobile number, wherein you can send your message or WhatsApp on this number. Archbishop is ready and waiting to answer your questions. If you have any question, any doubt, any uncertainty, or there's no clarity upon something, you can ask those questions, and with the discretion that the Archbishop will surely answer these questions in the weekly feature Shepherd's Voice. Thank you, and we look forward to the next episodes.